Hello, and welcome to Proxima. This is a program that I've been working on for a while now. Before we get started, I just want to kind of tell you a little bit about myself. I am a network engineer for a larger hospital chain, and I've always liked to work with computers and to tinker with things. I've been part of the Homelabing community for the better part of 6 years now, and uh, my bread and butter in the Homelab community is Proxmox for my hypervisor of choice. And as I've been Homelabbing, I eBay hunt and I find good deals on some used hardware, which means I inevitably have multiple boxes, multiple servers, running. And I have continually been frustrated by having to make the choice between a centralized login page, like running your servers in a cluster, and having the ability to have multiple machines turned off to save on power when they're not being used and to be able to use the other one still. I've been frustrated that I have to keep making that choice where I sometimes have some machines not part of the cluster and they have to be in their own login page to manage them, and it just has been not the funnest part of the experience. And it was something that I thought about for a while of possibly changing. And I I know that with with a cluster you can change quorum votes, so that way you can have it where your main machine might have a few more votes and you can have them have some cycle down, or you can have other mechanisms in place, but none of them really tickled my fancy. None of them really stuck to me as like the good solution for my particular setup. And so naturally, as one does, I decided I'm going to make my own program, my own fix, my own solution, because I looked and there wasn't a lot of options out there that were fitting what I was looking for, and doing what I wanted to do. And so, it started that way. And pretty early on, I realized that, maybe if I keep working at this, it might be something that other people would want. And so I've kept working on it, and I'm finally ready to start showing it off. And it's still in early stages. So what I'm really hoping to get from these devlogs is community engagement. I'm looking to see what things people like, what things people don't like. Do you love something? Do you hate something? Do you think that it looks like a 4-year-old coded it? Do you think that it looks like something that you would enjoy using? Right. I'm just wanting to kind of get a gauge and ultimately kind of build it with the community in mind. And so with that, we're going to do just a high level overview on this first devlog. And if people are wanting to know more information about specific things, I can do further devlogs about those specific things. But I'm hoping to start to just discuss the entirety of this application over the next several weeks of devlogs to kind of give you a big picture of what's going on here. So with that, we're just on the lock screen right here. We're not going to get too much into the infrastructure today, but this is separate than your Proxmox login. We're not using PAM here. And so let's just go ahead and get signed in here. Let's go to the dashboard. So this is, your bottom line up front dashboard. Things like your resource, like a resource heat map, so you can see what things are taking the most amount of resources. I have a lot of these deployed right now just for demonstration sakes, but they're not necessarily meant to have them all at once. Just depends on what you like, right? And I have the ability for people to be able to move things around, organize how they want them, because if you want things to all be in a row, you can do that, right? I wanted the freedom to be with the user. And so the only thing up here that's not currently configurable is this top row, just showing how many virtual machines are running, how many containers are running, your if there are any currently over allocated servers. So right here, you can see that I have an over allocated server. And that's mainly because of some testing that I've been doing. And so that's the main part of the dashboard. You can get like your network information. This is happening, on the fly. I have it polling every few seconds to see what the network throughput is to those devices or those servers. So if you go to a server and run a speed test, for example, you'll see these spike for that pretty quickly on. But the big thing is, I'm not overdoing it on the API calls and causing the Proxmox server to lag at all. But I wanted it to be as fluid and functional like you would expect from logging into the Proxmox UI by itself, but with the additional features. So on the left side, you can see that there is a resource tree, just like in Proxmox. I do have a search for this, so you can, type in whatever, and it will just search for that. You can turn it on and off the button, the ID numbers, if you so desire. You can also filter based upon the cluster. So the cluster, which let me just quickly state, cluster level is the same thing as the data center tabs in Proxmox. It's just the way I'm calling them in here. And if that gets confusing for people, let me know, and I can, if enough people are saying, hey, this should just be called data center because it makes a lot more sense. These are the kinds of things that I want to know about. And with that, you have your servers, and it shows the cluster that those servers are part of. So you can see that this triple node cluster right here, it has 3 servers, right? And these are multi-selectable. So if you wanted to have, let's say, I want to be able to see just storage and virtual machines, that's it, right? You can have that be set. And let's say you want to only be able to see items with the dummy tag on them, right? You can have that be set. And so this just trying to make it nice and easy for people to be able to see where things are at, what things are going on, and administrate for them very efficiently. And one last thing with this before we go on to a few other features is you can see on hover the CPU and memory percentages as well as the storage amount as you hover over them. The storage here, I'm still dealing with it, trying to figure out why some aspects of it don't work with virtual machines very well. And there are certain limitations when you don't have the guest agent running. So things like going into here, you don't have the IP address showing up anywhere because there's no guest agent running, right? But then with containers, it's a lot easier to see because it's already, as you all know, it's already exposed through the LXC type of container that it is, and you're able to see things like that a lot easier without needing a guest agent. And so I have that kind of card there for people. And there is one of the other quick things with this is that, sometimes you are dealing with a server where you might be seeing that there is a lot higher spike in something like that. And maybe going through each individual one, let's say you have 50 VMs, it's going to be a pain to see. And so I have this side drawer for whatever virtual machine container or storage item is on that server. And so you can quickly see from there, oh, hey, this TrueNAS box and this Active Directory item, they're both maxed at their RAM allotment right now. But CPU-wise, they're not doing too bad, right? Or containers, I can see, hey, my Tailscale one, that's pretty low on its amount of RAM. I could probably dial that back a little bit. And this Cloudflare one, if I need to add anything else to this, I'm gonna need to increase that disk size, right? So just a quick level or a quick uh, kind of like bottom line upfront, like I was saying before, just quickly being able to see what is going on with your infrastructure, with your servers and your VMs in a really easy to use interface. And so, and as you can see, like there are some bugs here. Like I said, it's still in early stages of development, and that's expected. And so with that, I'm going to just show you a few other features, and then we're going to wrap this one up for today. And so, I have this sidebar. This is where a lot of the things that I'm working on are showing up, right? Because as I'm working on organizing things and building out certain parts, I kind of have some stuff going on here. And so, I have the task analytics where you can search based upon whatever you need to be able to see what things have happened at what time frame. Is something failing? Is something, you're starting it up and it's stopping, or is something hanging, things like that, right? Analytics, obviously you can see your CPU usage, memory usage, storage usage over time as well. And you can also see API requests. These requests are what is being posted, put, and deleted from the Proxmox servers to the Proxima backend. And this is just feeding, or the backend's just feeding this data to the front end for you to be able to see, right? Same with the network history. You can also see the live network traffic through here as well. And you can see, kind of where spikes are happening from. And so there are a couple standout features that I've added that are different than what you're going to get in a standard Proxmox setup. So the first thing, and this is very much under development and is not at all ready, but let me show you what we're cooking up with here. So this is a node editor system, and if any of you have used something like Blender, Unreal Engine, or things like Nuke, things in the VFX space use a lot of node editor type of environments a lot, where you can draw logic through nodes to do something, right? I'm building that for Proxmox because we have the full API access, and that all is being made available through Proxima. Something like this has become possible. And so I'm not going to show off any sort of usability for this yet. Like I said, this is very much under development, but this is one of the features that we're working on. And in a future devlog, I will show this off more. And one of the first things that I'm wanting to show off running with this is a auto deployment of the LM sensors package, so that way you can see temperatures of your servers, and it can be auto deployed on a new server add. Things like that are what we're working to make have happen here. I say we, it's me. I'm the sole developer right now on this. The other thing that is very much in early development is I have a Docker integration, because you have your virtual machines and your containers, but if you want to run anything through Docker or through any sort of Docker container, you need to have some sort of other hypervisor setup. And so what this does is I have a container that is auto deployed through this, an LXC container, let me be specific, is deployed through this, and I can show it happening on the fly. So let's say right here, I want to have a Docker node deployed right here. I'm just going to leave it on DHCP and click install. Okay. So this is installing, it's creating the container. If you do not have the template that this is using, which is just Debian 12, it will grab the template automatically. It will create the container. It stores the password in the database. And I'll show some of the infrastructure as to how I keep things secure that way a little bit later. and it will then install Docker onto there and installs a custom agent that I have written for this. So that way it's not just communicating over SSH between the LXC container and Proxima. And so this allows you to be able to say, hey, this server right here, I want to deploy, let's say I want to deploy Alpine right here, right? And I'm just going to deploy it. I'm not going to put any sort of name, so it just does like it just doesn't, I can name it whatever it wants. And so from here, you'll see, hey, look, this container just got deployed, and this is sitting inside of this LXC container alongside with this one. But I can go to this and say, hey, I don't like that this container is running on this server, because this server might be running a little bit lean on resources. It might be struggling a little bit, but this other server that I have, it might be a lot better for running it. So I can just start the migration and migrate the container without having to stop it or anything like that. I can just migrate it from the one container or the one server right over to the new server. There's my Alpine Linux right there, and there's no hiccups, no issues with doing that. Like I said, this is still very much under development, and so things like Docker Compose and specifically with your own Compose setups, your own Docker setups, and migrating from something like Portainer or Rancher into this infrastructure are things that are planned, not built. And so, like I said, we're just really in the early stages of this, but getting feedback as to what features people would like to see, what features do they not care about, things like that, I think are really important to get started earlier the better. The last thing I'm going to cover before I'm going to stop this devlog for today is actually two things. So I do have consoles with this built in. So if you go to a container, you can just open up a shell right there, and it loads just like a regular shell would, right? And then let's say you need to go over to here. It runs in a mini window, but let's say you need to see the disk IO. You can just move the window over to wherever you need it to be, and you can open it back up, right? But then if you need to also go into, let's say, this Active Directory VM, okay? This one looks like that VM is failing, so we are going to go to a different one here. Now, looks like I'm running into a bug. So let's just say this right here, this shell. I have all of the actual server shells as needing to have the password put back in again, so that way it is keeping that secure. And so from here, you have multiple shells or multiple console sessions that can be opened at the same time. And you can also open them side by side, change the sizing of them, and you can then say, hey, I like this how it is, and I want to save it that way. And I can then say, I want this to be, test, right? And so then from there, if I close this out, let's say later on, I'm like, oh, I like that. I need to open up that again, the server shell again, but then also that container again. I can go there, open it back up, and we're back. And you notice that you didn't have to put the password in here again. It didn't prompt. It's because I, by default, have that as a 20-minute cooldown that's configurable on the admin side. And speaking of the admin side, that's the last thing I want to talk about for this first devlog. So we have a role-based access management system in place. And so you have the default, which is the admin profile that has your full user rights that a admin would normally have. So that means you're getting the whole kit and caboodle. You're getting all of the access that anybody could have, right? But you can also have specific roles set up, and things like, you can have a viewer set up where they can only have a certain access, and as a as the admin, you can then define those roles. There's also the ability to add an Active Directory, so that way you can specify a OU that you want to have have access to Proxima, and then those users from that OU will be put in with the role by default of what you have set in that section. And you can have multiple ones set up, so that way if people are in different OUs, they will get the appropriate realm or the appropriate role when they log into it. And then there are a lot more features that I can go over, and a lot more things that I can kind of expand upon. But I think we're gonna leave it here at the moment. Please tell me what you think down below in the comments. I am working on a Discord server. I will link that into the description when I have that operational. Please feel free to join in the discussion. Right now, I am hard at work at getting this close to a closed beta. And with that, I am looking for about 30 volunteers. So if you are interested in trying this out and getting to get your hands dirty and helping to build this into a tool for the community, let me know. And when I have the application process in place for the closed beta, I will post that into the Discord as well. And with that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, whatever is happening when you're watching this. Have a good one.